Hello my lovelies, I hope you've had a fab week. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my collection of vintage sewing patterns. As you know, I'm hugely inspired by the late 30s and early 40s in particular, and I have a little collection. It's not huge, but the things that I do have are really, you know, my treasures, I suppose I would say. And I find them really inspiring and, you know, refer to them and use them all the time. So I've broken this into two parts, and today I'm going to be looking at and sharing with you the 1930s and 40s. And then in part two, which will come in a few weeks, there'll be the 50s and very early 60s. Yeah, me and Mildred are wearing the same dress today. Liberty Bella tea dress pattern. Thoroughly recommend it. Absolutely love it. First pattern that I have is this one. It's a later 1930s. We're heading into the 40s. You've got this like longer line silhouette. It's still quite narrow on the hips though. And this for a lovely petticoat slip, and by Simplicity. What I particularly love are the instruction sheets that you get with vintage patterns. They are just like little works of art. I would actually frame these and put them on the wall. And then the other thing that I love, and I will show you in a bit more detail, you have the pattern pieces, which are, you know, came, you know, early on. They didn't used to print on them, so you would get these sort of random pieces of tissue paper which have, you know, browned with age. But whichever lovely lady had this, she had copied out onto a newspaper, and this one is dated February the 10th 1939. So they're really like little pieces of history, little works of art. The next pattern, also from the late 30s, is this Weldon's So Easy charming nightie. This was given to me by my aunt, and it is like all patterns then you would buy the size that you needed. You didn't get multi-sized patterns, and this is just so beautiful with this sort of gathered little bows here, but a lace inset. And I'm not entirely sure if this is bias cut. The next pattern is this Vogue pattern that I bought for £3 from a junk shop. Vogue patterns for authentic fashions, it says on the reverse, but look at the beautiful illustrations, and you can tell this is a 30s because of these big sleeves, lots of fabric. There was a sort of more delicate prettiness about the late 30s, and then as you got into the 40s and the war and rationing, the silhouette changed significantly. You had more boxy shapes and shorter skirts and more A-line shapes rather than this sort of fluid, more slinky silhouette. But this is incredibly beautiful. I love those sleeves. So the next two items are sewing guides rather than sewing patterns. I absolutely love sewing guides. I've got Pinterest boards full of them, but these two are particular treasures. So we have this blouses, skirts and jumper suits. So here are these beautiful ladies. The colour's still absolutely fantastic on this little Leachway Fashions. And inside it says all these patterns are free inside. Now I actually can't remember where I got this, so these are pattern pieces which I've not actually had a look at, but just as a little piece of history, this is just so fabulous. And oh, I could just look at these pictures forever. I mean, look how beautiful they are, these little blouses. So those patterns basically it shows you how to make these. You've got the sort of all the information, and apparently these are up-to-date designs. I have looked through and there isn't a date, but with this silhouette I would assume that this is sort of, you know, we're going into the 1940s here, and it sort of covers all sorts of things. So styles for sports girls. This one is of particular interest to me at the moment. What she's wearing on her head, that's a little bit of a hint. But we've got chic and trim for day and evening wear. So I presume that you got the skirt and the basic blouse, and then somewhere in here, yeah. So somewhere in here is like all the instructions. And then we have this little lingerie, Pretty Pretties. It's all very shiny. This particular little sewing guide, which is all about lingerie and nightwear and petticoats and so on, is really has been an incredibly influential how to put lace inserts in. And then you've got these really lovely ladies modelling and showing you what you can also do by following these techniques. And with this one in particular, when I was designing my own products, this is really the thing that has inspired me absolutely the most, I would say, and even down to colours and layout and so on. So these are things that I always refer to, but they're also very practical. I have another Vogue pattern, again, and easy to make. These lovely blouses or jackets or over blouses, which was quite a common feature. I love the shape of the sleeve head on this one, and this like panel, centre panel, and then the blouse on effect. These lovely little illustrations. And I actually would like to make these up, so if you'd be interested in seeing that, do, you know, pop a comment below, because I would love to make these up and then maybe like resize them so that I can wear them. We've time travelled now into the 1940s. World War II has started. Rationing is going to be a factor here. I've tried to keep this as chronological as possible. So I've got a couple of original patterns, some repro patterns, and actually this a book to show you. So this book is a full and complete guide to everything you need to create your own wardrobe. There's rickrack being used to make a collar and a waterproof lumber jacket. So all occasions, including lingerie and nightwear, negligee, how to cut the patterns, how to adapt the patterns, fancy aprons, because we all need fancy aprons, how to put different types of pockets in, and then all the additional bits, millinery, these beautiful ladies with their beautiful hats and all the equipment you need, how to make your own gloves, flowers and other additional embellishments, and then embroidery and quilting and so on, which is something I really want to try, as you know, the trapunto, different finishes and seam finishes, and then all these different style dresses and how you make them, different ways of adding interest by seams, how to pattern cut different sleeves and make interesting cuffs and details, and then how to use your sewing machine. So a lot of this stuff, even though this is from the 40s, a lot of this information still applies, is still completely relevant today. And, you know, it's just a really beautiful book. If I ever do see this book in a thrift or junk shop or wherever, or online, or someone's getting rid of it, grab it. So I have this pattern for a button-up blouse, which was a very, you know, a real wardrobe staple. So this is like 1940s. I like the, you know, the use of paneling here and complementary different fabrics. Little behind, and there's the back, and that's an economy design, number 144, size 36 bust. I really do want to make a version of that, because, you know, I absolutely love those shirts. And then this one, which I just love the drawing of this. So this is a little blouse on, or jacket blouse and skirt, or, you know, it might even be culottes possibly, and the bike. And I love this in particular because my nan and granddad met and courted whilst being part of a bicycling group, and she had a really amazing cycling outfit, and this just makes me think of my nan on her bicycle. I, alas, am not terribly good on a bike. Somehow it just doesn't really, that phrase, "as easy as riding a bike," not for me. But I aspire, and maybe if I have the outfit, I might become better, who knows. The last few patterns I have are all reproduction patterns, which I will have shown you, but because they're, you know, just reproduced versions of vintage patterns, I'm including them. So I have the Simplicity 8447 here, brilliant pattern. I have the Retro Butterick from 1944, number 6485. I haven't made this dress. I did intend to, and actually I will. But I've got to work out what fabric I would like to use. I then have this sundress from 1947, the B5279. You may remember from one of my previous videos, way back, one of my first videos, that I talked about this. It's really lovely, but for some reason I'm missing some of the pieces. I did cut it out in pink gingham, and I quickly realised that it just wasn't going to fit me, so it's in my UFO pile. I will finish it though. This one, B5281, just made this. I'll add a card. Last week I did a sew along, or a spend a day in my studio sewing. And then this one, Simplicity 8463. It's actually a two-piece, if you can see there. There we are, two-piece. I hope you've enjoyed spending some time in my studio looking at these, you know, to me, little treasures and pieces of history. If you have enjoyed yourself and you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. If vintage sewing, or just generally sewing and DIY style, is your cup of tea, then that's what I'm all about. Join me on a Thursday in my studio in my cottage by the sea to do some vintage inspired sewing. Amazing week, my lovelies. Until then, bye.